All right. So the last thing is in the attack area here is this tool called Caldera. And there are others, but this is the one I was able to get working. Caldera is a tool to simulate these advanced resistant threat attacks. And you can install it on Linux. They tell you you need a more powerful machine though. So you have to make a bigger machine than the default Google Cloud machine. I gave it 2 CPUs and 7.5 gigs of memory. So
can you run it on your own VM if you have enough? I got 32 gig of RAM on an HP raw.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure you can run it on your own VM. I've just put everything in the cloud by default because it's easier to teach a whole class. That way people can have any kind of wimpy machine. But sure, I'm sure you can put it on your own VM. And then it runs on port 7010 for some reason, so you have to open that port in the cloud firewall. And then you can connect to this thing. You execute your commands to install this thing called Caldera from GitHub. And when you start it, it's listening on 7010 and 7012 and 80. And now you can open this web console, which is kind of cool. So let me shrink this a little bit. All right, so now you have different things you can do. And in one thing, there's this training thing, which looks like a capture the flag, which sounded kind of fun, but it turned out to be less fun than I hoped it would be. So the first thing is to deploy a local agent. That you have to do. So you have this thing. This is like the command and control server that you're running here. And you have to put an agent on the machine. So what you do is deploy an agent, and it gives you code to just execute on the machine. So if you want to put an agent on your Linux server, you just copy this code and execute it on your server. And it will just make a connection back, a reverse shell, back onto the machine. So that's what local agent. On the local machine, on your own command and control server, you can put an agent. Then you can put a remote agent. So I've used PowerShell. There's a PowerShell. You just copy and paste this PowerShell code into a Windows machine, and it will make a remote connection back to your server. It has to be able to reach it over the internet, and it's on this port 7010. But that's pretty much the same thing you would do with like Metasploit malware or any other kind of rat. And now, that's a local agent, remote agent, and then you can change the timer. If you hunt around, you can find some parameters to set, and you can update the agent. You can change this here to different scripts and so on. So I was able to solve like a few of these flags, but the further flags, I couldn't figure out how to do them. So this CTF was not as helpful as I hoped it would be. But anyway, it gives you a beginning of start. And on the next one, after you have an agent, now you have a Caldera server with a connected Windows agent. You can now put on some defenses and try to send some attacks from this thing. So, of course, there's much, much more to do, but I got a couple simple things working, and that's as far as I've gotten so far with this tool. So you can create a campaign. You create a campaign, you look at your agents, and it says you do have an agent. You have a Windows machine connected, so you can do some things on it. So now you put loot on the target system, because what you're going to do is attack it and steal data and try to sneak the data off, exfiltrate it. So I just go to put a bookmark in Google Chrome and install ClamWin antivirus and make a notepad file with top secret information just open on the desktop to see if I can steal data from RAM. I just put a few things on there that you might want to steal. And now you go to Super Spy. They give you some standard templates, and you can just choose what steps you go through, like screen capture, copy clipboard, get Chrome bookmarks, record microphones, and so on, just right here in the GUI, which is really nice. And so now you create an operation. I add a new operation called Spy1, and then I just pick which techniques to do, and then I run it and watch it go through. So it creates a directory, it copies the clipboard, does the screen capture, but it has not done this stuff yet. And you can just watch it run, going through percentages, and it tells you what part of it worked and what part of it failed. And when you're done, what it does is it determines whether this activity worked, but it doesn't usually do much real harm. Although I found I was able to steal the, it takes a screenshot and it just puts it on the desktop. It doesn't send it up to the command and control server, because this is not an attack tool like Metasploit that really steals stuff. This is just a tool to see if you can do it, which is kind of nice. So although I think I was able to actually get the data out of the clipboard, I could see the top secret information. So it's not completely harmless, but you can see it's intended not to actually steal data, but to just see if your defenses are working. So anyway, you can get started playing with that, and there's much more to be done with Caldera. But it gives you a good start of tools that will use this attack framework to begin testing your defenses in some organized way, and then creating some kind of scorecard about how good your defenses are, and then being able to hopefully plan better how to improve your defenses. All right, save that one.